This screencast is to demonstrate how to complete the assignment to create an amortization schedule. And so I'm going to start by downloading the starter file that's included in the assignment. And the first thing we're going to do is determine the number of years. We're going to fill out this block up here in the upper left-hand corner. So we're going to just assume we're going to do a mortgage on a house for 30 years. And then there's a formula, the starter file has a formula that multiplies the number of years times 12, so you get the number of monthly payments in cell B2. And then for cell B3, all we have to do is put in the interest rate that we want to assume, which is, I'm just going to put 3.25%, like that's probably close to, you might be able to get a lower interest rate now, but, and then B4 just has a formula that divides that interest rate by 12 because we want to get the monthly interest rate when we determine the payment. And then in B5, we're going to put in the amount of money that we're going to borrow to finance our home. So I'm going to put $300,000. Most of the houses in our area now are around, that's a little bit high, but we'll just assume 300,000. It's a nice even number. And then in cell B6, we're going to use one of the Excel functions, the payment function, to create a formula that will calculate what our monthly mortgage payment is going to be. So we always start formulas with the equal sign. And then since we know it's the payment or the PMT, we can just start typing PMT after the equal sign. And then we'll get this function, see the one that's highlighted in blue that says PMT. And if you double click that, it'll show you the arguments that are required for that function. But an even easier way is once you've done that and you've got that selected, if we click in this on the formula bar here, this insert function or this F sub x, double click on that and that'll open up this function arguments dialog box. So now we can fill in our function or our arguments for the payment function. So our rate is going to be this interest rate per month. We could take the interest rate in B3 and then divide it by 12, but we've already done that in our block, so we're going to use that. What that means is it's the interest rate per period for the loan. For example, use 6% divided by 4 for quarterly payments. So in our case, we would be doing 3.25% divided by 12 because we're doing monthly payments. But we already did that in cell B4, so we're just going to put equals cell B4. And then if we hit enter, whoops, don't hit enter, sorry. Hit that F sub x again, or first click OK, and then hit F sub x. And then the number of periods, so if we hit the tab, don't hit enter, hit tab, the number of periods is going to be the 360, or the number of months. So we're just going to reference that block, or cell B2 for that. And then if we hit tab, the present value is our principal, or the 300,000. So I'm just going to click on that, and that'll reference cell B5. And the reason we're doing that is now we can change those things if we want to finance a different amount or at a different interest rate or different loan terms, we can do that. Our future value is going to be 0 because we want to eventually pay off our mortgage. And then for the type, and if you'll notice when you switch to each one of these individual windows, it has an explanation of what that is. So type is a logical value that determines whether you're going to make your payment at the beginning of the period, in which case you would put 1 as your argument, or if you're going to put your payment at the end of the period, you would use 0 or just leave it blank. We're just going to leave it blank because we're going to do it at the end of the period. So then we can click OK. And you'll notice we get a negative number. We don't want to have a negative number there because if you look at it from the sense of, okay, you're going to be paying money out of your bank account. So in that case, it's a negative number, but we're going to just, after the equal sign, we're going to put a minus sign to negate that and make that a positive number. Now we're going to fill out our amortization table down at the bottom here. And in the A10, you've got the first period already filled out, which is period 0. And our new balance in this case is going to be equals whatever the principal was. So we can do that. Okay. And then we're going to have 360 periods, so we can just fill in, put in a formula here. So we're going to start equal sign, and we'll make it equal to B or A10 plus 1. So we're just going to increment it by 1. And then we can, we want 360 periods, so we need to fill this down to about row 370 because we started out in row 11. So let's see if that works. 370, went too far. Okay, 370. Okay, that gives us 360 periods. Then we can just scroll back up to the top. And for the month, let's say we're going to start making our payments on April 1st, 20. And then the next payment would be May 1st. And then we want to fill down those months all the way down to the bottom. So the best way to do that, or the easiest way, is to just highlight this range of cells B11 through B12. And then we'll use our fill handle. If we just double click on the fill handle, it'll fill it all the way down to that, where that 360 is. Okay? And it does, months. So we can see 30 years is going to get us out to 2050 because we're in the year 2020. Our first payment is going to be March 1st, 2020. Our last payment is going to be March 1st, 2050, 30 years later. Okay? And then our balance, for our balance here, we're going to put this new balance here. And you'll see why we're doing it this way in a minute. So you're going to be like, well, why didn't you just put that there in the first place? Well, there's a reason for that, and you'll see why in a minute. So the amount of interest that we're going to pay is going to be this amount, the balance. So we're going to put an equal sign for our formula here. This amount here times the interest rate per month, which is in C, or B4 rather. Okay, and we want that to be an absolute reference. So we're going to need to click on that argument in the formula bar there, and then use our F4 key or function F4 key to make that an absolute reference. Or you could alternatively type a $ in front of the row reference and a $sign in front of the column reference. In this case, the row reference is 4, and the column reference is B. So $B, $4. And then we hit enter. And then the principal paid is going to be, we'll put a formula here, it's going to be whatever our payment is minus the interest. So you'll notice it's going to be B6, which is our payment, minus the amount of interest, which is $812.50. And that amount of interest is going to change each month because our balance is going to go down. And we want this to be an absolute reference, the B6, the reference to the payment. So we're going to use the function F4 trick again, and then tab over. And in our new balance, we're going to put a formula, and we're going to take the balance in C11 and subtract the principal that we paid when we made our payment. And so our new balance will be $299,506.88. Okay. Now, we can just use this row here, and we can fill that down to the bottom by just double-clicking on our fill handle. And then we can see that fills out our amortization schedule. And you can see one thing I wanted to point out here is when you're first making your payments, you're paying a lot more interest than you are towards the principal. And then as you go on further down in the life of your loan, when it gets down to the end, it's just the opposite. So when you get into about in 2049, you're only paying $34.84 in interest and $1,270 a month in principal. So mortgages, or any loan for that matter, it's front loaded with the interest. That's why banks make a lot of money in the early part of the loans, and they don't care if you pay it off later, like halfway through the loan, because they've made all their money up front. So one thing we might want to do, though, is take this row here, or the range A9 through F9, and we're going to go up here to the View tab and click on the Freeze Panes. And so let's go ahead and click on Freeze Panes. And actually, we want to do it, never mind. So controls, let's unfreeze that pane, because you actually want to do it on this row here. You're going to choose the range right below the column headings. So click Freeze Panes, and then you can see that line there. So now when I scroll down, it'll still show the monthly payments, the amount of interest paid, and so forth. So, and then once you've completed that, that's it. You've completed your amortization schedule. If we wanted to, we can change this to 15 years, and we can see what our payment's going to be. It'll be 2108. And if we scroll down, you'll notice it doesn't fill the table out all the way. Well, you get some negative numbers towards the bottom there when it's paid off. So it's really paid off right here. There's other things that we could do to make this a little bit more robust and determine once you've paid it off and then just fill the rest with zeros. We're not going to worry about that right now because you can get the information you're looking for with it like this. But there is a way to do that with Excel formulas. We could use the if logical function that if this amount or if the new balance is 0, then we would put 0 in all of these other cells below. Or if the let's see, the balance, the new balance is less than the payment, then, or we'd have to have an if function that says if it's more than the payment, then we go ahead and calculate it like we regularly do. But if it's less than the payment, then we'd have to do something different. Anyway, this is it. If you turn this in, you'll get the credit for the assignment, and hope that helped, and talk to you soon.